What's good, people? Uncle Hotep back at it again. Happy Friday. What is it, 3 days till Christmas? I hope everyone has their Christmas shopping done. And this title says it all. Why kids love fascist cartoons like Paw Patrol and Thomas. Now let's look up. I want to be perfectly clear here. Let's look up the definition of fascist. Fascism is a form of radical authoritarian nationalism characterized by the dictatorial power, forcible suppression of opposition, and control of industry and commerce that came to prominence in the early 20th century Europe. The first fascist movements emerged in Italy during World War I before it spread to other European countries. Opposed to liberalism, Marxism, and anarchism, fascism is usually placed on the far right within the traditional left-right spectrum. Now, I think anything opposed to liberalism is probably quite good. But, you know, they're not using fascism as a compliment. Now, Jade, I have a daughter. I have one on the way. If you donate, I appreciate it. But she likes Paw Patrol. She was really into it. She's not as much as she used to, but she still rocks out with it. I've watched it because you got to be careful what you let your kids watch. I didn't think it's I thought it was like team oriented, like the basis of each episode. There's some problem in the town. I can't remember what the name of the town is called, and they got to pull all the resources together and they come to the rescue. It's usually a team effort, and Ryder is the guy here. Parents like to see themselves as purveyors of possibility. We want our children to inhabit a world in which identities are both mutable and equal, and imagination and empathy reign supreme. But young children, as dictated by their taste in popular culture, have something else in mind. They're drawn to worlds in which identities are fixed. Orders trump imagination, and transgressions are met with routine punishment. This clash between what parents desire for their children and what children desire for themselves is what's most easily observable in cartoon preferences. So often, the most parents dislike a show, the more their children love it. Two of the most divisive shows are Thomas the Tank Engine and Paw Patrol, both of which have been eviscerated by grown-ups on discussion boards and social media and widely shared essays in prestigious publications. Thomas, the longest-running television franchise about a working group of trains chugging away on the island of Sodor, has been called a pre-modern corporate totalitarian dystopia in The New Yorker. Oh, The New Yorker. Imperialist and sinister in Slate. Slate. And classist, sexist, and anti-environmentalist in The Guardian. And yet people, presumably parents, spend $1 billion on Thomas merchandise every year. I went to, they had a Thomas the Train. He comes there's this train station that he comes to, and they have a big train dressed with the front as Thomas and the other ones. I went out there. I took Jade, my daughter, out there, and there was a lot of people out there, man. I'm telling you, I went there I thought I was going early, right? And, it was a long line. You know what I mean? They had, they would run trains. They would run, you would go back down like a mile, 2 miles, and you would go back. But there were so many people out there in line. So it's fairly popular. Nobody was out there like she's trying to make it seem like it was everybody's. It was parents and taking their kids there. There was no grown adults, without kids taking her to ride on a train. I probably do it again. Paw Patrol is equally polarizing. The show about a group of rescue dogs led by a boy named Ryder is a regular source of complaint among parents and of adoration among their kids. BuzzFeed called the show terrible and pointed to instances of gender and social inequality that go unchecked in the show. In The Guardian, Ryder is described as a megalomaniac with the implied unstoppable God complex. Nevertheless, Paw Patrol is ubiquitous. Branded merchandise featuring Ryder and the gang outsells most other television shows, according to recent data from the Licensing Industry Merchandise Association. A recent Amazon search for Paw Patrol yielded 24,814 results. It's tempting as a parent, especially those of us who are aghast at contemporary politics, to be disturbed by the notion of our children tuning in for a regular dose of primary colored authoritarianism. Whatever happened to free to be you and me? But rage as we might, these shows are a source of comfort for our young children whose ID-driven brains seek out order, stability, and even punishment in their entertainment. Despite the reputation of innocence, children are a bubbling cauldron of conflicted feelings and impulses. This is especially the case during toddler and preschool years, when they become aware of their capacity to do bad things and struggle with understanding those urges. The neat moral order of the shows like Thomas and Paw Patrol gives them a context for these feelings. Exclaimed Tova Klein. If I know my audience knows to look at the authors' names, but you can tell a lot by the people that write these type of things. Director of the Barnard College Center for Toddler Development, author How Toddlers Thrive, good and bad are clearly articulated states in these shows, she said, and should one misbehave, the repercussions are clear and predictable. This is an age group that is constantly dealing with all these negative feelings in themselves, am I good, am I bad? They're trying to figure out what that means, Klein says. These shows also help children navigate their paradoxical relationship with power. On one hand, they desperately want some power. Watching the pups and Paw Patrol go on a mission or the trains and Thomas being useful, it allows them to feel as though they have two important roles to play. On the other hand, children take comfort in the idea that someone is in charge. To them, Ryder isn't a megalomaniac and Sir Topham Hatt of Thomas isn't a neo-colonial autocrat. They're just guys delegating responsibility to their eager inferiors. And the fact that these leaders, both white males, Jesus Christ, both white males look like the most figures in position of authority in the real world is not lost on children. She does. I haven't watched too many of those Thomas the Train. I did watch some of those. But in Paw Patrol, the mayor is a black woman, and she runs the town. I don't think you get caught up in being a white male. I don't know. I never, I mean, it's up to the parents, you know what I mean? There's other cartoons out there. As long as you balance it, I've had her watch other stuff where it was colored, black characters in it. You know what I'm saying? Or brown skin characters, or or non-white characters, if you want to be specific. But I don't think it's a team. There's nothing wrong with being a team, and nothing wrong with being like coached. It's like almost like football. You have the head coach, and he delegates authority. It's still up to the people the quarterback to run the play, throw the ball. You got to catch it. Everybody does their part. That's why sports is such a great thing for kids, because it teaches them teamwork and how to work with others. You know what I'm saying? There's always somebody going to be given the direction. It's not like, it's just how it is. You know what I mean? There's always going to be a quote unquote leader or somebody delegating authority. Like, even if you go to a job, but you can even take it further. Like, if the child can learn, like, hey, maybe sometimes I want to be a rider, or I can be Sir Topham Hatt. I can give the authority. You know what I mean? You have to do it correctly. This is the thing. You both white males. When you this is if you want to look who Elisa Strauss is, here she is right here. You know what I mean? It's hilarious. Children know there are a lot of scary things in the world. There are things that are bad things that can happen. And these shows make them feel like they could be a part fixing it. But they know at some level they can't take care of the things solely on their own. And being a part of a team makes them feel safe. Among these cartoons, many critics exist a subgroup of parents who are okay with this degree of autocracy and Manichean dualistic politics, but just wish they could present it with more nuance. And that's not so easy, however, explained Yalda Teols, a research scientist who studies children and media at the University of California, Los Angeles. For the whatever, rigidness and simplicity of the narrative is really important because in the real world, so much is going on, and young children aren't really capable of abstract thought. Yule says preschool age children pay close attention to social cues and status, all in an attempt to figure out where they stand. They clearly articulate hierarchies in these cartoons, confirm they are struggling to understand their own lives, maybe that someone else, probably a parent or teacher, is in charge. Parents concerned with unsavory elements. Like, if you watch Paw Patrol, you would never use the adjective unsavory. You would never use that word to describe either that or Thomas the Train. You would not say unsavory elements. There's no unsavory elements in the show. It's probably one of the safest shows, especially Paw Patrol. I've watched a lot more Paw Patrol than Thomas the Train. There is no unsavory element in that show. Like, every pup has a turn at saving the day. I'm dead serious. I've watched it plenty of times. Should talk to their children about them, but don't overthink it. It takes a long time for a child to learn something from media and then apply it to their own life, she said. For example, children won't immediately take up bullying just because they saw it go unpunished on television. Catherine D.M. Clover, a mother of a 2-year-old in Detroit who occasionally watches Thomas, struggles with whether she should use the same criteria to judge her own child's TV preferences as she does her own. I think there's a fine line that parents walk when it comes to media. Obviously, there are some things you're going to be totally off limits, and some things that are more that I don't love it, but whatever territory. Thomas feels like a very difficult call. Is this harmful or is this not my taste? She said that for now she still lets him occasionally watch the show because Thomas is close to the line as a socially conscious parent. What is socially conscious parent? There's been too much debate about socially conscious. Like, what are you socially conscious about? Goodness gracious. Oh my gosh. I'm not gonna say. I was gonna say something really crazy. Anyway, Saeeda Shabazz, who's based in Los Angeles, says she has no qualms letting her 4-year-old watch Thomas, which is his favorite thing in the entire world. I think it's evolved a lot over the years, which is why I don't really agree with the fascist label. I think the characters show empathy more, and friendship is bigger than me. Bigger theme, and not for nothing, they're trained. Order and doing as you're told is important to running a successful train line. Good point. Then there are parents who are okay with authoritarian elements in children's media, but wish the authorities didn't always have to be white and male. I don't like. I look at authority figures, and I don't see. My first thing that comes to mind is not their skin color and their gender. I'm sorry. I watched Paw Patrol once with my daughter, and on the episode, Sky volunteered for a mission. But then Ryder picked 2 male pups, said Rebecca Pajak, a mother of a 2-year-old and 1-year-old in Chicago. Sky is the only female on the core team of 6 rescue pups on the show. I remember there's a glass ceiling in this cartoon. Jesus. I've seen plenty of episodes where Sky saved the day. She's a team member. It's not like it's a glass ceiling. You know what I mean? It's not just up to, it's up to the parents to teach them, what you can achieve, a kid can achieve in life. Granted, I do think media and everything else is a big part of you know, how you develop as a human being, because you know you only learn from what you hear and what you see. But man, you know, I'm not gonna look at Paw Patrol like, hey man, there's a female member in there and she does everything else that other pups do. You know, I remember I came up, I was watching G.I. Joe and Transformers. That's what was big. Star Blazers, Voltron. You know what I mean? Kung Fu Theater on Saturdays. That's the stuff I watched. You know what I mean? And it didn't necessarily have to have, like, you know, if they didn't have a black character in the show, I wasn't like going ape shit over it. You know what I mean? It's crazy. Like many parents struggling with their children's media choices, Pajak doesn't want to get in the way of something her daughter enjoys, and she really enjoys Paw Patrol. But the concern about her daughter absorbing patriarchal messages lingers. I don't want to think one cartoon is going to shape her. If she sees 10 cartoons, then I do have a concern. It's systematic. What this is all telling her collectively. I want to make a strong point about this, because, you know, some people will say you know, a children's what's the word? How am I going to say this? You know, other choices children make can't be shaped by media. They'll say that all the time. You know what I'm saying? Now, they're saying it. They're implying it in this CNN article. But other choices aren't. You see what I'm saying? This, what they're doing in the media, and, you know, CNN, you know, the liberal media, you know, they don't like the messages it's conveying to children, because it's conveying order, it's conveying working with a team. That's what it's conveying. You know, it's an anti-liberal message. You know, and they you know, they write hit pieces. They hope this can reach a few thousand parents, and some parents will like, hey, I'm not going to let my kids watch this anymore. You know, it is. You might think this is small, like a small article, but you know, it has a long reach. You know what I'm saying? So this is what they're trying to do here. Here's an idea gratis for the creative team behind Paw Patrol. Should they want to broaden their appeal to parents without alienating the fan base, Ryder and Sir Topham Hatt retire and are replaced by their equally dominating sisters. This in turn boosts the social status of all non-male characters. Children should still get the satisfaction of immersing themselves in a worldly universe where rules are rules, and everyone at his or her place, just without the white guy on top. See, it's all about the white guy on top. Like what difference does it make? You know, there's plenty of female lead roles. You know, this would, I think, would the better ways. I think this teaches a lesson that I mean, it's equal opportunity for all. Sometimes the female leads, sometimes the male leads. I don't think you necessarily need if you're raising a girl, you don't necessarily need to have a all female characters to learn from something in their lives. You know what I'm saying? I don't necessarily believe that. Like, if that was the case, then you would only learn, if a daughter would only learn from the mother and a son would only learn from the father. Well, that's not, you know, we all know that's not the case. This is just more, I don't know. It's shocking that they would go on and attack Paw Patrol and Thomas the Train. Like, the liberal media has stooped so low, they've gone to attack Paw Patrol and Thomas the Train. This is CNN. I'm not like, this is not some well, it is a fake news site, but this isn't some quote unquote fake news by Facebook standards. Let's just take it by that way. This is mainstream media attacking Thomas the Train and Paw Patrol. To be honest, you know what this tells me, right? This tells me those two cartoons are doing something right. I might buy some. Matter of fact, when I go I'm gonna finish up Christmas shopping Saturday. I'm gonna buy some more videos of Paw Patrol and Thomas the Train. Thank you, CNN. Thank you. God bless. Good night.